Hi everybody, I am doing a video today to try and educate some of you, some of the differences between some of Abel's medical equipment that he has. I know we have a lot of followers who really don't know the difference between Abel having a trach, being on a ventilator, and having oxygen support as well. So I'd really like to help try and clarify some things. We do have a significant amount of people that have been along for the ride of our journey, and sometimes you see some of the updates that I put, and I feel like it will really help clarify some of the big milestones that he makes as we sort of transition to his second birthday soon. And so I really wanted to just make this video to sort of clarify some of those things and hopefully explain it in a way that everybody will understand. Bit of a disclaimer here. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is not medical advice. I do not have a medical degree. I am just a mom to a child with special needs. So I'm going to be showing you some of his equipment here, and hopefully it will help educate some of you going forward, so that when you do see a child out in public or in any given situation that has some of the equipment that Abel has, you'll be able to sort of decipher that and understand it a little bit better. So I have made a list of a few different things here. Use my trusty sticky notes. So Abel is trached, okay? He's been trached since November of 2017. So I have my brand new trach in here with trach ties around it, and we're going to be using one of Abel's favorite stuffed animals to be able to show you how that goes around his neck. Here we have oxygen, a ventilator, humidifier, which warms his sterile water up before he breathes anything in. So you and I, we breathe through our nose, and that sort of warms everything up before we inhale it into our lungs. So that's the purpose of his humidifier. So Abel is on ventilator support as well as oxygen support at the current time. So we'll start here with our ventilator. This is our ventilator that we have at home. He obviously has two because he's on the one upstairs sleeping. His ventilator support is what gives him the pressure that he breathes in. So we have ventilator tubing here. Okay, that runs all the way down into the humidifier. If you can see, this is where this chamber warms things up for him, and it goes into the ventilator, which is what gives him his pressure. Okay, so this end here that I just have wrapped in a glove is what goes to his trach. Now I have here listed an oxygen cord, because just because you're on a ventilator does not mean that you are on oxygen support as well. However, in Abel's case, he needs ventilator pressure to help blow off his carbon dioxide that he has trouble blowing off. But he's also on oxygen for various other reasons, which I can explain a little bit more. So we have this oxygen cord that goes to the very back of our machine here, our ventilator. If we wanted to give him oxygen through this, we could either be not on oxygen support because we're not plugged in right now, but if we wanted to put him on oxygen support, we would just go ahead and plug it into an oxygen tank and set that up with unlocking the tank and putting him on however many liters he needed to be on. I'm not going to show you how to do that because I don't feel like it's important to the video that I'm showing. At home, we use a concentrator, which is a large machine that converts room air into oxygen for him, so that we don't have to be changing out oxygen tanks all the time. We have two, so we keep one down here, and as you can see, this long tubing will just run and plug right into the tubing that I just showed you. Now, everything's off, okay? I also labeled his suction machine here because I do want to briefly, before I go into the video, just explain sort of why he needs suctioning. So you or I, we cough things up and we're able to clear them out of our lungs ourselves. Because Abel's on a trach, he can cough. He does have a cough. However, he doesn't have the ability to get that out himself. And so what the suction machine does is when we turn it on and we suction into his trach, it sort of does that for him, if that makes sense. So what I'd like to show you guys is This is our ventilator tubing, because a lot of you have asked me questions about Abel's ventilator, or you've thought that he wasn't on a ventilator support or that he didn't have a trach anymore. So I really just want to give you a visual of what that means for us as a family. This is what we suction Abel with. So we would attach our suction machine down here, and then this actually goes into his trach and sucks out and sort of coughs for him, if you will. So this stays attached to him. Other people use different methods for suctioning. We like to keep ours attached. It's sort of our own preference. This is Abel's trach that I use for educational purposes in the house because we do have in-home nursing. So this is what you guys see around Abel's neck 100% of the time. He can not sustain life without this. He will go into respiratory distress and likely cardiac arrest if we didn't have him on a ventilator or if we weren't bagging him in an emergency situation. So what I'm gonna do is fully inflate this trach. So this is the trach that goes on the outside. This would be Abel's neck right here. And then this is the piece that actually goes inside of his neck that we change every 2 weeks. So if you see what I'm inflating here with a syringe, you're gonna watch right here, okay? And I am really exaggerating how big that balloon can get, just because I wanna be able to show you sort of the point of him having a cuffed trach is. So this that is inside of his neck is inflated very small, and it's just because of the size of the trach that he has. What it does is it creates a seal between this silicone and his trachea. So it sort of just makes the trach more adapt to fit his needs, if that makes sense, along with other reasons that are a little TMI. So, trach, okay, trach ties, and some people are trached without ventilator support, some are trached with ventilator support. So this does stay attached to Abel, okay, ventilator tubing, down to humidification, into ventilator. This stays attached to Abel 24/7. We have been able to trial him off of oxygen as of late, but this for right now, because he is getting over a bout of pneumonia for the winter, is connected to oxygen at the moment. So I hope that helps clarify a little bit visually what his needs are between having the trach in his neck, his ventilator support, and his oxygen support. If you guys have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. I really do like to help clarify things for people. I think it's really important that not only are you following along with Abel's journey, but you're understanding that when I say, hey, Abel's been off of oxygen support for, you know, I think the first day that we trialed him off, he was able to make it for 2 hours. And our first time that we trialed him off of oxygen, meaning we were able to completely shut the oxygen source off, so he was only getting ventilator support. The first time he lasted a 24-hour period was a huge milestone for us. So I know I've gotten a lot of messages saying, does that mean he's going to come off of the trach or the ventilator? And really, I am going to go through one last time, even though you guys have already seen, to kind of clarify where he may be at within the next year, and then maybe even the next 5 years. I'm overshooting there, but I'm an overshooter. So here's his trach, okay? Eventually, Abel will be just trached, okay? This isn't gonna be wide open to the world. He will hopefully only have this for the next few years to get him through some winters, and our hope and goal is that he will eventually not need the trach, because anatomically he doesn't need it. He really just needs it for his respiratory support right now. So this will eventually come out in a few years. That's our long-term goal. Short-term goal has been us getting him off of oxygen. Abel has pulmonary hypertension or high blood pressure in his arteries, and so we've used this oxygen as one of the therapies to sort of get him in a good cardiac standpoint. And like I said, he's on it today. He's been on it for the last few weeks because he's, you know, fighting. I shouldn't say he's fighting pneumonia. He is over pneumonia, but he's been sort of struggling with this long-lasting respiratory infection this winter. So our oxygen source is the next thing that we're gonna kick. So bye-bye. Hopefully we won't need you anymore. And our ventilator support is a certain amount of pressure that he gets on his inhaled breath in a whole lot of other terms that I'm not going to go into because I am not a respiratory therapist and I have no absolutely jurisdiction, or I just shouldn't be telling you any of that because I don't fully understand it and I am not a medical person. So that is our very last thing. You know, we can come down on, and hopefully my hope is that he'll be off of this within the next year, during the daytime at least, and then when he sleeps, hopefully he'll eventually be able to get off of that as well, because when he sleeps, sort of his lungs relax and everything is just so relaxed when he's in a deep sleep that he does need that extra help to keep giving him support to be able to breathe. That is it for my explanations for you guys. I hope it helped a little bit to clarify, and please feel free to not only ask me questions, but if you know of anybody that you think this might be beneficial to, or you know of people that also follow our journey that are a little bit shy or could benefit from this, I do encourage you to share this. You don't see children out in the world really on a regular basis that are trach children, number one, and number two, I think there's this big stigma behind being on a ventilator or being on oxygen support. And I think the more awareness that we can have for people actually understanding why some of these children need it, or people, and sort of what each piece of equipment is, I feel better as a mother being able to sort of say, let's break that stigma, let's break the silence, let's talk about it. If you have questions, I am in no way, shape, or form offended. I would much rather people ask me than stare, because in my opinion, staring is caring, and you are curious, and I would love to be able to sort of guide you and educate you on how freaking amazing my kid is, and some of the support that we're able to have at home because of the medical providers that we have. So thanks for watching. I hope I helped, and I hope you guys have a great Sunday.